NFR Extra follows all your favorite cowboys, interviews legends of rodeo, and talks to the best of country music. Follow Nevada Caldwell, Ryland Bentley, and Steve Godert every week as they delve deep into the stories behind the road to gold in Vegas at the National Finals Rodeo. It's revealing, comedic, and sometimes emotional. Find it on Spotify or anywhere you listen to podcasts. NFR Extra. All dirt, all rodeo, all year.
NFR Extra, episode 74. Oh, Ryland Bentley. I can't stop thinking about here we are in, what is this, day 3, day 4? It doesn't matter. The NFR is going down. We're in Arlington. We're in Fort Worth. We're all over the place. We're all over the place in Texas. And I'm just excited to watch the contestants. You know, the social media shows you so much going on. You see everyone sharing stuff, PRCA sharing stuff, Cowboy Channel, fans. You can't miss a beat what's going on with social media. And if you're not there, you're feeling it. I'm just excited that this is happening. What a crazy year it's been. And it's not done. It's still a crazy year, right? We're in the middle of a million things going on outside of the rodeo business. But how are you feeling right now? Because you grew up in this world and you're getting to see so much and you're hanging out at Cowtown every day, Junior World Finals. Triple B, how are you feeling?
You know, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident that this year may not have been the best year for everyone, but it was a year that our teams came together, and under the circumstances, NFR is happening and the Junior World Finals is happening, and it's amazing to see all these competitors thankful. And even though, like I said, it wasn't maybe their best year, or, you know, maybe it was some of their best years, you know, Shad came in a lead like no other. So
are you talking about Money Mayfield? Shad Money Mayfield, is that who you're talking about?
Shad Money Mayfield, yeah. He got a nickname this year because he had a great spring and he got to carry that out throughout the season. But it's just nice to see that even though it's different, which has been my key word, I'm pretty sure you guys could find it 100 times throughout the last couple months, but I'm glad it's happening.
Absolutely. But you were telling me something about Mr. Brazil and Money Mayfield. What was that you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, so last night, round 2, Trevor Brazil made a comment that Shad had a different roping technique, and he'd kind of noticed it a few times throughout the last couple weeks or months, and he thought it was a mistake. He lets go of a coil as soon as he comes out of the box, and anyone that ropes, they just know that your control is in your coil, it's in your hands. So when you let go of a rope that, you know, you let out the extra rope, you lose part of your control, and this is his technique, and he's been running with it and rolling with it, and Trevor and everyone else is now just watching it and seeing if this might be the new thing.
I love watching the Cowboy Channel because they're doing a great job of covering everything from inside and around, all the things that are happening down there in Fort Worth and Arlington. We can talk about this forever. We got the next 8-9 days to talk about this still, but here we got NFR Bullfighter Nate Jestes. Too much fun talking to that guy. And then, what is it? Let's see, 2020 and 2021, Miss Rodeo America, Jordan Tierney. Man, she was awesome.
I just love that she got to highlight her background and give a little information on our ag world that, you know, I myself take for granted for knowing about. You brought it up, like, what does that mean? And she just went into detail as if it was common knowledge. And that's something I think in our podcast we try to push through, is that, you know, everything in our rodeo world or ag world it's just not common knowledge all the time. Just because I may know it or Steve may know it doesn't mean everyone does.
Yeah, that and Nate Jestes and injuries. Both interviews are a lot of fun and very different in the rodeo business as far as perspective and things that, well, one faces and one that experiences. Enjoy this. But up next, little NFR rewind with Jeff Metters and Butch Knowles from the Cowboy Channel.
And just like that, we are 2 rounds into the 2020 Wrangler National Finals Rodeo from Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. Jeff Metters, Butch Knowles. Round 2 was it was wild. I thought some of the best rough stock I've seen in a while.
Yeah, it was really good, especially in round 2. You know, we saw some guys that, you know, kind of stumbled a little bit. Some other guys stepped up and went right through the door. It was pretty impressive. In round 2, we got a lot left, but that was quite a start.
Yeah, the bottom line, the timed event stuff was really pretty good, too. Let's take a look at what happened in round number 2, and we start in bareback riding. We're tearing her off. Matched up here with Wilson Sanchez. What a cool ride. 87 points.
Yeah, what a pretty ride. You know, these horses were kind of somewhat eliminators, but this really wasn't one of them right here. He was just a great draw for Haas. He knew it. He took advantage of it. Gets his win.
Co-champs in steer wrestling, and the magic time tonight was 3.8 seconds.
Yeah, good for young Bridger Anderson. You know, that was a great run right there. Had to reach a little bit. Got his feet on the ground quick. Then here comes Wagons back on Scooter. Look out. This could be habit forming before his week's done. Great run in 3 and 8.
That's going to be fun to watch. Team roping, you got to get Squeeza and Graves. Boy, were they good tonight. 3-8.
Yeah, Travis Graves. Talk about cleaning it up, because Ega Squeeza was almost out of room over there at the bucket chutes. That was good.
All right, here's the wild stuff now in the rough stock side of it. Look at that. That's cowboy stuff right there. Rider right wins 90 points.
Yeah, you would never take a horse laying down probably, but guess what? Rider right doesn't know that. He's got to stand up to buck. He stood up and he won the round. That was amazing. What a ride.
Marty Yates won round 1 with a time of 7-1. He wins round 2 with a time of 7-2.
Boy, Marty Yates is in the zone right now, isn't he? I mean, he's on his great horse and he's taking advantage of every draw. Second win in a row.
On the barrel racing side of things, Jimmy Smith got the win 17:04, and she needed to be that fast because Haley Kinzel was breathing down her neck.
Yeah, it's good to see Jimmy win this round. You know, she struggled last night. Her horse kind of lost sight of that third barrel. She took advantage of it tonight. Picked up, you know, you can see the focus right here. 17:04. That's the fastest run we've seen so far. Jimmy, we'll see what she can do now when she gets going on.
And get ready for another right highlight. This time it's Stetson Wright. He won round 1. He wins round 2. What a wild ride.
Yeah, he earned it, didn't he? Talk about why these eliminators. Well, that's why. He did everything to get Stetson on the ground. Stetson, he is motivated. What a bull ride for Stetson Wright.
2 nights in our rearview mirror. 8 are still ahead on the Cowboy Channel and RFD TV. We'll get to the round 3 tonight, starting at 7 Eastern.
Cowboy Christmas, the Wrangler NFR's only official gift show, is open daily at the Fort Worth Convention Center through December 12th. Cowboy Christmas is no ordinary Western shopping fest. You'll find hundreds of exhibitors with the most unique Western apparel, art, furniture, jewelry, and so much more. If you need it, you can find it here. There's something for everyone at Cowboy Christmas, and admission is free. Get more at NFRExperience.com. Cowboy Christmas, we're all in Texas, and it's all here.
Hey, this is Tracy Lawrence, and you're here with us on NFR Extra.
Bullfighter Nate Jestes entered the PRCA in 2010, and his career swiftly accelerated. He has had the opportunity to work and protect cowboys at some of the biggest rodeos in the industry, including 4 trips to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. In 2017, Nate decided to sideline his freestyle career to focus on protecting bull riders. He takes pride in his craft of protecting cowboys. Four-time NFR bullfighter Nathan Jestes. Welcome to NFR Extra, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're all getting ready for NFR, and well, or if you're listening to this, you could be listening to this, we could be a day 2, day 3, day 5 of the NFR here in Arlington, Texas. But yeah, man, thank you for coming on. Let's not waste any time here. How has your past year? How have you been participating in rodeos and whatnot through the summer? What's been going on through these COVID times for you?
Yeah, so this last year, it's been, kind of like everybody else. It's been kind of off and on. I was fortunate enough to get through the bulk of my winter, January, February, March. all okay. Everything kind of started shutting down after the American. And for me, my schedule started to kind of slow down as well. I mean, I still had quite a few events in April, but I usually take the month of May off anyway. So I didn't miss a whole lot April and May. And I was kind of banking on, when everything shut down, I was like, well, at least we'll still have our summer run, And then all of a sudden May came around, and next thing you know, all the June rodeos are canceled, and July, August, whatever. But I was able to go to a few in June. We went to Lawton, Oklahoma for their Extreme Bulls, Woodward, Oklahoma for their PRCA rodeo, and then up to Cody, Wyoming over the 4th, and Spanish Fork in Deadwood, Dodge City, all that. So I had a pretty decent June and July until I broke my leg in Dodge City. So that kind of sent me back home.
Okay, so wait, you just said you broke your leg in August. Is that right?
Yep.
But here you are in December getting ready for the NFR. Wow. Okay. Damn.
So, but it actually, if I were to pick a time to break my leg, it was a pretty good time to do it, because all my August and September rodeos were canceled. October rodeos were canceled anyway. So I've only missed one rodeo with this broken leg. So it actually gave me a lot of time to really take care of it, do my rehab properly, and move forward with my leg in mind. And middle of October we found out we got the NFR. So the rehab went to the next level, and we were on the fast track to getting it back.
So I'm just imagining, and there's no short of jokesters, I would imagine hey Nate, don't break a leg here over the next 10 days. I'm sure you're going to hear some of that somewhere.
Yeah, well, the way my luck's been the last 2 years, it'd probably be something I would do. But I'm hoping that it's all the bad luck's out of the way.
You make it to the first round of 2018 Wrangler NFR, and then what happened? Can you take us through that injury and experience?
Yeah, so 2018 round 1, we got through the first 13 bulls really well, and then Dustin Bouquet got on a bull called Left Lane. I think it's Rafter H's bull, but Bouquet come off, and he come off over on Cody Webster's side. So my job and where I was at in the arena was to kind of float towards the middle of the arena and play that offside kind of position to try to get that bull's attention on me and get him pulled away from Webster and Bouquet. Well, as I was moving out towards the middle of the arena, that bull saw me and just charged at me real hard and fast, and he hit me in my left hip. And it pushed me out there a little ways, and when I landed, my right leg was completely straight. And being that I had some knee braces on and all that to protect myself from any sort of knee injuries, when I landed with that leg completely straight, that bull kept charging through me. So I had about 1,500 pounds being forced over top of my straight leg. And with those knee braces on, it wouldn't allow my knee to hyperextend or anything. So the only thing that could give was my hamstring. So I completely tore my hamstring. I tore two of the 3 muscles. One of the muscles tore in the middle of the muscle belly, and then the other one ripped off of the pelvis. And so I was unable to run at all. And when I got ran over and I got up, I thought I just had a Charlie horse. I was in no pain. I was, it felt like it, I just had a little Charlie horse. So I went to get up and pick up my hat and walk back to the buck and shoots. And as I was walking, I took a big step, and my whole right leg just shut off. It like a shock went down through my entire leg, and my leg just shut off, and I almost fell over. And so I was like, that's kind of weird. And Tuckness, he come up to me, he's like, you all right? I said, yeah. I said, but something just doesn't feel right. I said, my leg's really weak. And I said, it keeps shutting off. Whenever I try to take a step, it'll just shut off. And so I went over and saw Chad Schmidt, who was with Justin Sports Medicine Team. And I was describing to him what was happening. And he's like, well, where does it hurt? And I said, well, it doesn't. It's not working. And he's like, well, try to run up and down the fence, see if you can just run it off. And I tried to take a jogging step, and I went to plant and push off, and same thing. My leg just shut off, and I almost fell over. And so at that point, I knew something wasn't right. So I kind of just stayed in the corner for the next two bulls. And then after that, I was able to walk up to the Justin Sports room and have Tandy Freeman check me out. And so I laid down on the table, and Tandy got to feeling around, and he said, "Yeah, Nate, you tore two of your three hamstring muscles." And just kind of being ignorant to the injury, I was like, "Sweet, so you'll be able to wrap me up and get me through the next 10 days, right?" And he said, "No, you don't understand. You will not be able to run until this is repaired." And so I was like, "So I got to get surgery and everything?" He said, "Yep." And I was like, "Crap." So the next morning I got up and I had to go get an MRI, and then I brought it back to Thomas and Mac and showed Tandy, and he it confirmed what he thought. I tore two of the three hamstring muscles. And then he tells me, "Nate, I think this is worse than we thought." And I was like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And he said, "Well, one of your tears is in the middle of the muscle belly. That's easy to fix. We just go in there, we reattach the muscles, and it'll heal, whatever." He said, "But looking at this," he goes, "your other one, it tore off of your pelvis." He said, "Normally when you tear a muscle off your pelvis, what'll happen, it'll pull the tendon off the bone. But what you did is your tendon stayed attached to the bone, but it pulled the muscle out of the tendon. So you degloved your muscle from tendon, and you cannot reattach muscle to tendon." I said, "Okay." He said, "So this just got a lot more complicated." And he goes, "I do not know how to fix this. I fixed your hamstrings, and I do not know how to fix this." And I said, "So you're telling me that I will not be able to run the entire rest of my life until this is fixed, and you don't know how to fix it?" And he said, "Correct." So that's kind of when it got real, and it was scary. I had to go back and get a different MRI, just kind of a more up-close image of the actual injury, and it confirmed, that kind of a tear. And so Tandy was trying to figure out the best plan for me moving forward. And so he reached out to 4 different doctors across the entire country, and I got turned down by all 4 of them. And so throughout the next 10 days, we just kept trying to figure out a plan, what we're doing, trying to find somebody that knew how to fix this type of an injury. And finally, I think it was like round 9, I came into the performance and to get my treatments and everything. And Tandy said, "Nate, I've found a guy for you." And I said, "Sweet." He goes, Dr. Yom in New York City. He's a hip and knee specialist. He's done it, on a lot of high profile athletes. He said he's seen this injury before. It's very rare, but he knows how to fix it. And he described to me how he was going to fix it. And he goes, "I think that's the best plan for you moving forward." I said, "Okay, sounds good." So this is a long story, but the next month we were trying to figure out and schedule this surgery, but it was just such a mess because I was hurt at the NFR and I was contracted by Las Vegas Events. I fell underneath their workman's comp policy. And so we were fighting workman's comp for over a month, just trying to get this surgery scheduled. And long story short, workman's comp ended up denying the claim. They didn't see why I needed to go to New York. They thought I could just have surgery in Douglas, Wyoming and be fine. And it just wasn't going to work. So we had them deny our claim, and then that way we can move forward with our own personal insurance and get it scheduled. So January 31st, I ended up having surgery. So it was over a month and a half from the injury till I had surgery. And then after that, it was about an 8-month rehab process.
Damn.
Wow. That is unreal.
I feel like I'm hanging on the edge of a cliff right here.
Totally. You're not on camera with us, Nate.
I had an 8-month recovery process. All right. And then, gosh darn it, man.
Well, and what's even crazier is how they fixed it. So once they got in there, what they did was they took an an Achilles tendon from a cadaver, and attached to that Achilles tendon was a little chunk of bone. So they drilled a hole into my pelvis, hammered and screwed that chunk of bone in there, and then they pulled that the hamstring muscle back up to the proper location, and then they wrapped that Achilles tendon around my muscle and sutured it, or however they got it to attach. And whenever you have cadaver in your body, it takes about 12 weeks. Your body will, the first 6 weeks, your body will break down that cadaver tissue, and then it will rebuild it into its own tissue. And so throughout that breakdown, rebuild process is how that Achilles tendon permanently attached to my hamstring. So that's how they got it that's how they reconnected my hamstring back to my pelvis.
So how long was that surgery?
Well, believe it or not, it was an outpatient surgery. I checked into the hospital at 6:30 in the morning, and I was back in the hotel room at 2:30 in the afternoon.
Damn.
No way.
Wow. Yeah. Science is cool.
So, yeah, unbelievably, you think? So then now, kind of going back to that was the 18-19 recovery deal, and then you break your leg this year.
Yeah.
Was that in any conjunction, or was that just a totally separate deal?
Totally separate deal. Yeah.
So what happened there?
So in Dodge City, I come out and I made the save, and we were kind of out in the deep water, out in the middle of the arena, and I had to really hustle to get there, and got through the gap just fine. And that bull swapped ends and come back to me. And then Wasey Munsell, the guy I was fighting bulls with in Dodge City, he pulled that bull off of me and kind of moved more towards the middle of the arena. And I went back to help Wasey and get that bull pulled off of Wasey. Well, that bull seen me and come charging. I just tried to throw a big fake on him, and it didn't really work. And he caught me and he knocked me down. And on his way by, he just run me over, and his back leg just stepped square on the lower part of my leg and broke my fibula and ended up tearing all the ligaments out of my ankle and all that stuff. So we had to get that reattached too.
Damn.
Jeez, man. And so now you're 100% coming into this deal. You've Superman yourself into being legit.
Yeah. No, I went up to a gym in Montana that I train at, and I was up there for about 2 weeks, and then I continued my rehab and stuff afterwards, but they just really got after it and got all that explosive. That's what I was missing, and that's what I wanted to go up to Montana and train for, was to get that explosive power. And so now that I've got that back, I feel really good.
Wow, man. That's
crazy. So let's change the gears and get off of the injury train here. On the positive note, what is it like fighting bulls in the Thomas and Mack?
It's like nothing else. My whole career, I always told myself I'll never base my career off of the NFR. I work a lot of great rodeos throughout the year, and there's a lot of bullfighters that never go to the NFR that deserve it, but work a lot of great rodeos throughout the year. So that's kind of how I told myself I'll never base my career off of the NFR. But the first time I fought bulls in that arena, I said, "This is cool, and I want to come back." And so it's like nothing else. When you have 18,000 people stacked on top of you, and just the atmosphere in that building is like nothing else.
Yeah, that's what's crazy. The Thomas and Mack is like, just a hub for that. You walk in there and it's like, oh, the national finals rodeo, and just as a spectator side of it, you can kind of feel that. So what's your feelings going in with this historic move to the NFR being in Arlington for 2020?
I'm very excited about it. I'm just as excited to be in Globe Life as I would be at Thomas and Mack. It's going to have a different feel for sure. We went down to the locker room yesterday and took our bags in there, and we were able to walk out onto the arena floor, and it's definitely weird seeing those buck and shoots in a different place. But I think it's going to be a great event, and I'm excited to get it started.
How many bucking shoots? We had this conversation with Brent Sutton the other day. And again, as NV says, this, you could be listening to this on round 10, but how many bucking shoots do they have down there?
There's 12.
There's 12. So is this guy, I mean, the opportunity that you've had to work a lot of different rodeos, indoor, outdoor, that sort of a deal. Is this changing up game plan at all for you, or, and you guys, you know, the crew fighting bulls here?
No, not really. I mean, these bigger arenas, it could change some of the, you know, bulls' behaviors and stuff, but for the most part, our job is going to be the same. And we've all worked in big arenas before, so it's nothing that we haven't seen in the past. So it doesn't change our game plan or our job any.
Let's take a quick break. No pun though.
The next generation of rodeo stars will compete at the Junior World Finals presented by Yeti from December 3rd through 12th at the Wrangler Rodeo Arena inside the Cowtown Coliseum at the famous Fort Worth Stockyards. More than 750 youth contestants will compete for titles in 9 events. Bull riding, team roping, tie-down roping, steer wrestling, barrel racing, breakaway, pole bending, mini saddle bronc riding, and mini bareback riding. Competitions start at 7:30 a.m. daily and admission is just $10. Visit NFRexperience.com for details.
This is Jacob Talley, 3-time NFR qualifier, joining you on NFR Extra.
We continue our conversation with 4-time Wrangler NFR bullfighter Nate Jestes right here on NFR Extra. Let's go back to your success as a young man. I mean, you're flying high, you know, right? No pun here. I believe you had some athletic scholarships lined up coming out of high school, studying aviation, but then in walks this gentleman named Al Sandvold. Can you take us through this, your young career here as it gets going, and where Al steps in and where it goes from there?
Yeah, so growing up, I never did rodeo. I've always been a huge fan of rodeo. I had a lot of friends that rodeoed and stuff in high school, but I always was heavily involved in other sports that just took up a lot of my time. You know, I didn't have time for it or anything. I played, in high school, I played lacrosse and football, and lacrosse was kind of my big sport. That's what I wanted to pursue and go on. And, you know, my whole dream growing up was to go play college lacrosse. And so, as I moving forward through high school, I got, you know, several athletic scholarships to go play lacrosse out on the East Coast. And kind of the more recruiting trips I went to, you know, I got recruited out to Maryland and Connecticut and some of those states out there. And the more I went over there and visited these schools, it kind of got to a point where it wasn't where I wanted to be. It got to the point where I was going over there just to play lacrosse. I was going to live in a place I didn't want to live. I was going to study something in school that I didn't want to study just to play lacrosse. And so it got to a point where I decided I'm not going, you know, and I actually was committed to a school in Fairfield, Connecticut. And I called the coach about a month and a half before I was supposed to be there to start 2-a-day practices. I called him. I said, Coach, I'm not coming. And so from that point forward, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And so I've always had my uncle was a pilot, and I always had an interest in aviation. And so I just got on the internet and kind of searched some aviation schools and some places that I would be interested in being, and Montana was one of them. So I found a school in Bozeman and went up and visited Montana, and I said, this is where I'm supposed to be. And that's kind of how I've always lived my life, honestly. I've always lived my life in the seat of my pants and just followed my heart. And it's led me here, so it's really worked out. But I loved Montana. I loved aviation, so I made the choice, and I went up there and started school. And I needed a job, so I went out to the airport, and I applied for a job at it was called the Yellowstone Jet Center. And it was just a business that, fueled all the private aircrafts that came in, and, we hangared all the private jets and stuff that flew into Bozeman. And I got that job just to kind of learn about the aviation industry and kind of get my foot in the door there. And Al Sandvold was my boss. And just working there, getting to know Al a little bit, I found out that he was a bullfighter. And I went and watched some of his rodeos and stuff, and I just was really interested in what he did. Being an athlete my entire life, and then moving off to college and not really being an athlete anymore, I was missing that athletic side of myself, and I wanted to do something to, I guess, be an athlete again. And watching Al, fight bulls, and how much of an athlete it takes to do the job. And being a fan of rodeo, I was like, that's something I could do. And so I asked Al, I said, hey, would you want to teach me how to fight bulls? And he said, yeah, I will. And so Montana State, they have a rodeo team, and they practiced every Monday and Wednesday. So every Monday and Wednesday after work, me and Al would drive up to the college when they were bucking bulls for the rodeo team. And he taught me how to fight bulls in that barn. And away we went. So, kind of moving forward throughout college, I finished my 2-year aviation degree. When I graduated, I got hired on as a flight instructor at the flight school. And then that's kind of when rodeo started picking up. I worked some high school rodeos around Montana, worked an amateur run out in North Dakota. And so it got to a point where rodeo, I was getting busy enough with some rodeos that it started interacting with my aviation schedule. And I went to my boss at the flight school, and I asked him if I could take, these weekends off during the summer. And he pretty much told me no. And it got to a point where I had to kind of make a choice. And so I reached out to Al and kind of asked him, because I'm a 20-year-old kid teaching people how to fly planes. My aviation career was, it has already taken off, I was set to have a very successful aviation career. But my heart was in rodeo. I wanted to fight bulls. And so essentially I was giving up an entire career for a summer run of amateur rodeos making no money, And so I asked Al, I said, what do I do? And he said, Nate, you have what it takes to be successful in this industry. He said, but in order to do that, you've got to be willing to give up everything. You've got to give up your career. You've got to give up weddings, birthdays, funerals. You don't get to be a part of any of that stuff in order to pursue this industry and this career. But he goes, I believe in you. I think you have what it takes to be successful. I said, all right. Once again, followed my heart and gave up flying. And I moved back to Douglas, Wyoming, where my dad lived, or my parents lived, and my dad's a general contractor. So moved back to Douglas, Wyoming, and I worked for my dad in order to pay the bills while I was chasing this rodeo dream. And next thing you know, started getting more and more rodeos, and here we are.
No, hold on, Nate, though. You kind of mentioned dad, right? You're talking to two parents here. And if my son tells me, first of all, you got one great thing lined up, right? Sports, college, awesome, right? And then I'm going to do that. I'm going to go fly planes. Oh, and that starts to take off. And you're like, oh, hey, mom, dad, no, I'm going to go do this thing that the money may be this or whatever. And my life could just be ended at any moment in it. Where did your parents what were their thoughts on all this, kind of how all this came about? Because that's some crazy stuff right there as a 20-year-old.
Yeah. No, honestly, my parents, I guess they kind of know who I am and how I live my life, and I'm really going to do what I do. And they've always been super supportive of me no matter what I do. And so when I told them that, Yeah, they thought, I probably wasn't making the best decision, but they were still very supportive of me. And Dad let me go whenever, if I had a rodeo, Dad, he'd let me go leave town and go do it. So they were very supportive of it, yeah.
Man, God bless Al, man, for coming in your life, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Bullfighting itself. I think in the reality of this world, a little different for me being a daughter of a bullfighter, it's an art. How do you train and what is your style of bullfighting? It's changed a lot over the last probably 20 years, just the style of how it all works. But could you highlight what you train for, what you expect, and how it takes a mental game as well?
Yeah. No, bullfighting definitely is an art, especially nowadays. I mean, when you're running 3 guys and you have 3 guys that are on the same page, that know what each other's doing, and are all flowing together, it really is, it's pretty cool to watch, and it's really fun to be a part of. But when you have 3 guys on the same page doing it, it's the best level of protection for the bull riders. I mean, we have all angles covered, we have each other covered, and yeah, we still have to take shots, but for the most part, it's the best way to keep these guys safe. And but as far as training for it, for me now, it's all reaction. When you're fighting bulls, you don't have time to think. I can't sit there and think I have to be there now. By the time you think that, you're late. We're dealing with fractions of seconds. The fraction of a second is the difference between somebody getting hurt or possibly killed. So we're working off of reaction. So the way I train for that is to watch a lot of film. We watch a lot of past videos of ourselves working, other guys working. We're always constantly watching video, and I just, it's essentially it's muscle memory for your brain. So when you're out there doing it, you're just reacting to the situation because you've sat and watched it for 12 hours the last 7 days. So that's kind of how we deal with the mental part of it, is just hammer down on a lot of film. And then as far as physical training, going to the gym, and I just focus on workouts that just make me be an overall better athlete. We do a lot of kind of explosive type of workouts, strength workouts, deceleration, change of direction type of stuff. So anything we can do to just become a better athlete is the kind of physical training I do.
So, all right.
My knees hurt just hearing that.
Well, and that's one thing I've really learned and taken away. So I've been going up to the pit in Bozeman, Montana, and it's a training facility that a guy named Dane Fletcher started, and he was a linebacker for the New England Patriots for I think 5 or 6 years. But that's one thing he's big on, is he watched a lot of film of me working, and then he generated a workout regiment kind of based on the movements we do in the arena. But one thing he really hammers on is he incorporates injury prevention stuff in there. So we do a lot of, like, he'll incorporate stretching and certain different kind of stuff in the workout, so when I get in the arena, it's I've got the athleticism, and I've trained, to help prevent injuries as well. Did
you find that the lacrosse that you played in high school had a big effect on the ability to kind of transfer over into this sport?
Yeah, absolutely. I say it all the time. I wish I was a bullfighter back when I was playing lacrosse, because my footwork back in those days was it was pretty good. And so I wish I was fighting bulls back then.
What is your greatest fear?
To be honest with you, I don't fear, I guess, anything in particular, like snakes or anything like that. I mean, I've always lived my life, in the seat of my pants, and I've always just accepted challenges as they come. And I guess fear for me is, I don't know. I guess I don't really have a fear.
As anyone we've talked to on here, I mean, you face a lot of things, and sometimes your greatest fear was never what you thought it was, right? It could be something small. It could be something big. And a lot of people would fear what you did when you said, hey, I'm going to ditch these two, opportunities. And you went and did what you did with bullfighting, right? Or when you, tearing every single muscle off of your leg. And there's no right or wrong answer, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I feared something, it would be not being successful. If I'm going to do something, I want to be successful. So when I made that decision to go rodeo, I feared failing. I did not want to fail at this, and I wanted to be the best I could be. And then coming back to the injuries, I didn't want to fail at my rehab. I wanted to get back in the arena. And so I guess just that fear of failure has always driven me to, I guess, be the best that I can be. I
just want to say good luck. I'm not going to say don't break a leg. But seriously, enjoy this. Steve keeps talking about how everyone's going to look at this as a historical moment. So, man, enjoy that and be a big part of rodeo history.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's everybody. I'm going to miss Vegas, but what's happening here in Texas this week, it is history, and it's going to be one that it's very honored, to be a part of it.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys.
The NFL had Hank Williams Jr. The NFR has the late, great Charlie Daniels. Professional sports step it up for their championships. The Super Bowl, the Final Four, the college football playoffs, and the National Finals Rodeo. And boy, do they put on a show. The difference? Vegas has had 35 years to practice. That is evident every night to those lucky enough to be in one of the 17,000 seats at the oversold-out Thomas & Mack Center. The best sight lines and the shortest arena in rodeo creates bedlam in the house and on the dirt. What takes place each night may look seamless to the fan, but if you take a deeper dive, it is implausible that in the light of unpredictable factors, like a bronc getting hung up in a chute, they pull off this in less than 2 hours, 10 nights straight. The stars of the show are the top 15 rodeo contestants in the world, pitted against the best stock in pursuit of $10 million and the coveted gold buckle. 35 years ago, Sean Davis established a priority that became a foundation to the success of the NFR.
See, John Van Concreite's theme of the NFR was that we matched the best against the best. And they had their degree of glory in the arena, whether it's 2 seconds or 2 minutes, but all attention was focused on them.
Hey y'all, I am singer-songwriter Ashlyn Craft, and you are listening to the NFR Extra.
Jordan Tierney was crowned Miss Rodeo America 2020 at the Tropicana Hotel in Las Vegas in December of 2019. And oh boy, what a year it has been to be a queen. The 25-year-old from Oral, South Dakota, is the daughter of PRCA World Champion and Hall of Famer Paul Tierney. Jordan Tierney, 2020-2021 Miss Rodeo America. Welcome to NFR Extra.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here chatting with you guys. It's going to be fun.
You know, I just said that you're 2020, 2021. Can you let's take us back to 2019, Tropicana. You get crowned. You had no idea what you were in for, did you?
Yeah, so back to the Tropicana, you know, that's actually funny that you say that, because one of my best friends from last year, she was Miss Rodeo Nebraska. She sent me a photo that we took on the day of like moving in and stuff. And we were on the bridge walk going to eat at the MGM, from the Tropicana to the MGM. And she was just like, oh, such fun memories. And I was like, wow. I was a baby. I had no idea like what was in store for me. But, you know, you really hit the ground running out in Vegas after you get crowned, because you stay out there for the next like 5-6 days with your former Miss Rodeo America. So me and Taylor were out there together, and she was kind of showing me the ropes. Shown me, you know, next year when you come to the NFR, this is where you go for the flag girl room, you know, this is, you know, and so anyways, I'm going to need to dig up those memories in a year from now when hopefully we're back in Vegas. And I'm like, oh yeah, where did Taylor say I go? But it's been really fun. You know, my first part of the year, about the first 2.5 months I had, were just like a normal year. You know, I left my house January 8th. And I wasn't supposed to come back until the end of March. I ended up coming back like the 13th of March because I was in Houston. But I mean, didn't come home once, got like clothes shipped to me. You know, I was like changing out stuff on the road and just kind of figuring it out. And then I came home and I became the most well-rested Miss Rodeo America in history. So
what were some things that you did after the thing came down that might have been a little different compared to past?
Yeah. So, I mean, just in general, it was like way more of like, how do you have it? Because as Miss Rodeo America, when we have our social medias, we're like posting about the events we're going to, or we're posting about, you know, the experiences that we're having. Well, I was at home on the ranch. So really what I tried to do was share my background, you know, of ranching. And because that's where I was back, we were actually calving. We just started calving when I got home. So I got to be home and help my dad calve out. And then, you know, I got to rope again, which I haven't really got to focus on my roping in about like 2 years, because I've been preparing for Miss Rodeo America. And that's really kind of taken the front stage in my life. So, you know, I got home and I started breakaway roping again, team roping again, you know, doing ranch work. I was my dad's right-hand man. He went, let's go, Jordan. And so it was fun. And so I tried to share that experience with people, because that's my life and that's who I am as a person. And so that correlates with who I am as a title holder. And I hope to share that little part of my life with people.
Okay, you brought up something that I just want to ask, and I know Brian knows I was going to ask this. You were talking about calving out, and everyone doesn't know rodeo, right? Or they don't know Western lifestyle or ranching lifestyle. What's calving out mean?
So calving out just means that your mama cows, you know, are having their baby calves. So when you put your bull in the pasture to breed your cows, you put them all, and they all kind of like will get bred around the same time. So it will be your calving out, depending on how many cows you have, or when you put your bulls in and how long you leave them in, you should, you know, be done within like 2 months or so, maybe a little less, kind of depends. But so, you know, for about a month, at least for us, like we're having about like 6 cows a day, we'll be having calves. So you have to check them regularly. And we have ours out in the pasture because we calve in the spring, not in the winter when it's cold and blizzards and whatnot. But so we'll go out and we'll check them in the morning. We'll check them in the afternoon. We'll check them before we go to bed at night. You know, if there's one that's having a little issue, we'll bring them in from the pasture. You might have to pull a calf, you know. Sometimes they get the bags over their heads when they come out and you have to rip them. It's a whole thing. But you're tending to your animals and you're there to make sure the mama cows, you know, are doing good and don't need your help.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's why it was good for me to be home and, you know, help my dad and mom. So yeah, it is a little bit more of a process than when you just say calving out.
You talk about the ranch, you talk about the family. Can you highlight just how you got into the rodeo industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So my dad and mom both were first generation rodeo contestants. My dad was raised on a ranch in Nebraska, central Nebraska. And then my mom was from a ranching community up in the northwest corner of South Dakota. So both came from the background, but not rodeo, and they were first generation. So my dad won the PRCA World Champion tie-down roping in 1979, and then he went the next year in 1980 and won the all-around. And then my mom was a former Miss Rodeo South Dakota in 1985, and then she won the Badlands Circuit barrel racing in 1986, so the year after she was South Dakota. So really my background stems a lot from my parents, and I have 3 other siblings, and we all rodeoed, since we were able to, since, probably 5 years old. We started at junior rodeos. South Dakota has a really healthy youth association, so we started in 4-H rodeo, Little Britches rodeo. Then we went on to high school, college. I've done some amateur rodeoing, no, not pro. But my 2 older brothers, my oldest brother, Jess, he's a steer roper, and he actually just got done at his, I think it's 9th steer roping finals he had, or maybe 8th, in Mulvane a couple weeks ago. And then my other brother, Paul David, he is a team roper. He heads, and he also is a tie-down roper. So, I mean, it's in me through and through. It's in my blood. And my dad always said there was 3 things in life we had no choice in. And that was God, family, and rodeo. I think he was a little kidding, little not.
So I'm having a funny feeling you've had some experience coming to Vegas well before.
Yeah. So actually, when I was younger, because I came around when my dad was kind of retired, he was more just like a circuit cowboy, because my dad was in the 70s and 80s. That's when he was rodeoing hard, making it to the NFR. But yes, he always talks about when the NFR moved from Oklahoma City to Las Vegas. And I always asked him about it. I was like, did you like that? He's like, well, yeah. He's like, there was way more money up in Vegas. I loved it. But yeah, so when I came around, I do remember going out to Vegas for the finals a couple of years. And there was also a horse sale out there that my dad would sell a few horses at every year when I was younger. So, I remember being like in 6th grade and like walking down the strip with my siblings and like going to the NFR. And some really good memories I have when I was younger. And then to go back last year to the Tropicana and to compete for the title of Miss Rodeo America, it was just really a full circle moment. And when you're raised in the industry, there's just something about like the bright lights of Vegas and it being, there. And so it was really special to accomplish this, where so many dreams come true for cowgirls and cowboys that I've, grown up watching and admiring.
That's awesome.
You talked about your brother a little bit, and I know this is about you, but talk about the little bit of crazy finals, I guess you would call it, there at the Steer Open finals he had.
Yes. So my brother, Jess, he is the oldest of us 4, and he is also a redhead. And I'm the youngest, and I'm a redhead. So, you start with a redhead and with a redhead. And we're really similar. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But he had himself a rough first 5 rounds, because at the steer roping finals, it's only 2 days, and they do the first 5 rounds Friday, and then the second 5 rounds, the last 5 rounds on Saturday. So the first night he had a rough night. The first round, I think he had like an 18 or something, which in the steer roping is a kind of a slow run. He just had some bobbles, and then it just really didn't go his way for the next 4 rounds. He took 4 no times, I believe. And so it was rough. So the next night, though, because Jess, he has some tenacity. I mean, it's amazing. He really does blow me away sometimes. He just came back and he won the 6th round. And then he came back and won the 7th round, the 8th round, and the 9th round. Nice. And then in the 10th round, he had a small bobble. I don't know if he would have won that round, because there was a new record set for the fastest time, which was an 8.2 or 8.1. Oh, man. Yeah. Maybe cut that out. record set, and it was a really, really good run that Vin Fisher ran. So anyways, what I'm getting at is that don't back down, never give up. If that's one thing Jess Tierney can teach you, it's that.
Jordan, let's stop right there. We'll return right after the break. NFR Extra follows cowboys, talks to legends and country stars, and finds the stories that make up the season that leads to the annual showdown in December. Follow me, Nevada Caldwell, Brylan Bentley, and Steve Godert as we delve deep into the stories in and behind the road to gold. Listen to NFR Extra on Rural Radio, channel 147 on Sirius XM, every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, with a re-air Tuesday in the same time slot. NFR Extra, all dirt, all rodeo, all year.
Hey everybody, this is Glenn Templeton from Nashville, Tennessee, joining you live from NFR Extra.
We're hanging out with Miss Rodeo America 2020 and 21, Jordan Tierney, on NFR Extra. All right, let's talk a little bit, just getting to know you a little bit. What is something that someone would find interesting about you outside of this rodeo industry that a lot of people may not know, or that...
Oh, that's a good question. Something interesting about me. So I really, I don't know if this is interesting, but I love cultural things. I love traveling and looking at art, even though I don't know much about it. But I remember I was at the Cody Stampede this year, and they have this really amazing museum there. And they partner with the Smithsonian at the Capitol in Washington, D.C. So they have some amazing artifacts. And it wasn't on my schedule to go do, but I had some time. So I was like, well, I want to go to that museum. And I just spent hours in there. And my favorite part was the art gallery. And I just really appreciate that, history. I love history and learning about all those kinds of things. Sometimes I wish I had more time to kind of dig into those things, but I mean, I don't know if that's an interesting thing, but I love history. I don't know where it really stems from, but I could watch the History Channel all day long. To do when I am done is to save up enough money to go on a trip to Europe, and I want to see all the countries over there. I really want to go to Ireland just because that's a lot of where my heritage is from, but I also want to go to Greece. I've always been in love with Greek mythology. I love it. I want to go to Greece. I want to go to Italy. I want to see it all. I want to go to Spain, even Germany. That's my bucket list.
Besides the NFR, what is one of your favorite rodeos and why? You travel a lot, but if you could pick one.
Ooh, that's a good question. So there's a lot of fabulous rodeos, and I'm going to actually give you two. I'm going to give you my favorite South Dakota rodeo, and I'm going to give you my favorite, outside of South Dakota. So one of my favorite rodeos to go to, and I was going to get to go there, hopefully, as Miss Rodeo America this year, and hopefully next year in 2021, I'll get to go, but is the Pendleton Roundup. If you have never been, I 100% suggest you go, because the atmosphere there, whenever they ring the bell and just everyone screams Letterbuck, and the Indian relay races that they have, I mean, it is one of the coolest rodeos, and it's on the grass and it's got the track. I mean, there's just something about it, and it is really a fabulous rodeo. And I got to meet the president of the rodeo this year. He came to Deadwood, South Dakota for the Days of 76, and that leads me into my other favorite rodeo, which is in South Dakota. It is the place where I got my first local title in 2018. I was Miss Days of 76. It is one of South Dakota's, best rodeos. It's just the location of it, the history that's there in Deadwood. Just there's something about it, and it's a beautiful rodeo, awesome committee. they do such a good job. So those are two of my favorite rodeos.
Going back to Pendleton, so been there, and that is, first of all, the Indian relay race, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Holy crap. That Indian relay race was awesome.
It is really so cool. And those are the bridges that we make, even, when you talk about the Indian relays rodeo, it's all a bridge to where we come from, our heritage and what we're all about. And that's what's so important about, the sport of rodeo and having these other activities with these rodeos, because it's all about the Old West and how this, this country was, a lot of it was built back in the day. So I think those are really important aspects that are important to keep in our events.
Absolutely. You've been in Dallas, Arlington, Fort Worth area, probably a couple days now. There's a few events you've attended. What does the future of this week look like? And what does the future of Miss Rodeo America look like?
Yeah, so the future of this event, it's just hats off to Texas for getting this done, and they've been working with the PRCA really well, all the mayors and the governor, and just trying to make this event happen. And I was actually going into Globe Life a couple days ago, and the security guy there at the door that checks our credentials and whatnot, I was just chatting with him, and I was like, this is a beautiful facility here. And he goes, thank you. We're so excited to have you all here. He's like, we hope you guys just love it, because we built this beautiful facility and our public didn't really get to enjoy it this year. So he's like, we really hope you guys love it and enjoy it and just, have a great time here. So really, there's a sense of the community behind it here, which is really, I think, refreshing, and, just it feels good to have that in the year of 2021. It's been a rough year, but we're prevailing and we're going forward. And I think just everyone's taking it day by day, and it's been good. And so the future of Miss Rodeo America pageant, we canceled it in hope, and we'll be able to just go full force, have it like we normally do, because that's the biggest thing about that pageant is it's 8 days and it's such an experience. I mean, it's something that you only get that one time. Those girls only get that experience once, because there's no running for this title multiple times. You only get one shot at it. So I think to give the girls that full experience and to really walk away with it, because if you walk away with the crown or not, it's those 8 days and it's what you make it out there. So fingers crossed, it will be in full swing and we'll be good to go in 2021.
You guys have no idea how much Vegas will enjoy having the rodeo back and knowing where we're at. So I think we talk a lot about the Cowboys going back there, but the locals, that's a pretty big thing to us down there, just like it is anywhere else. That goes amiss. There's not a lot of that. We talk about the locals in Vegas and how much they enjoy.
Absolutely. That's a great point. You don't, and I don't know if it's because you're just like in all those big like hotels and casinos, and it just feels like it's own little bubble and world, but you're so right. I mean, there's so many locals that look forward to that rodeo out there, that anticipate it, and they'll tell you, I mean, you'll ask like your Uber driver, your taxi driver, and you'll be like, so, do you like having the NFR? And they're like, oh, we love it. You guys are all so nice. Like, it's such a nice economic boom for our town. And that is the number one thing, though, is that they're always like, you guys are so nice.
Correct. I'm not going to go on a limb and say that there are certain events that we have that people are a little different, but the Western lifestyle is super kind and always, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. All the nice things that you're supposed to do with manners. I think that the locals truly love that.
For sure. So I think they are. I do concur with what you said. They're going to be happy to have it back as well.
Well, Jordan, this was awesome. It was cool talking to you, and what an interesting year that you did not know you were going to have. And I really thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having me, you guys.
Many thanks to Nate Jestes and Jordan Tierney for kicking it with us on NFR Extra. Want to experience more of the NFR? Then visit NFRexperience.com. And we invite you to subscribe to NFR Extra on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or wherever you're listening right now. If you like what you've been hearing on NFR Extra, we would love it if you gave us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe. NFR Extra.
All dirt.
All rodeo.
All year.
Gotta make it out to Vegas, where the big boys roam, with the rovers and the racers and the bulls and the broncs, and the ladies in the skin-tight Wranglers and the cowboy hat.